I just got a message here. Okay, I'm hoping that this is live right now because Average Guy Crap says, "Hey, go live, man. According to my screen, I should be sitting live." So I don't know if it's failing on me. So hey, AGC, if you happen to be getting this, let me know if it. Oh, okay, it does come up to you now. Apparently, these last 6 minutes here or so, nothing's been going on. So that could be an issue. Well, I would go back to the very beginning of this for all of you that are not catching this thing, but let's just see where we were. Just real quickly, let me recap what we were looking at. We had kind of gone across the point coming up back to back. So if you click on this right here, it lets you know that the point of 9 has not come back to back. So if you were a past line better, you may want to hold off on your first 1 or 2 rolls after the initial point, because you are not catching that point coming back to back. So you might have a couple of the numbers running, but you know that the point won't come back to back. Let's go back and see if we can explain this right here one more time, since it may be kind of behind all of you. This here, the point per shooter right here, it states that for my shooters, I've had 6 shooters come up that haven't made a point. I've had 2 shooters that have come up that made 1 point. I've had a shooter that came up and made 2 points, and an additional 1 shooter that's made 3 points. So we're really sitting in a 0, 1, 2, and 3 frame area there. So if you were betting against a shooter, you kind of can look at this and go, oh, okay, most of the shooters have not made a single point. So you might be on the don't during this particular time. Now the point outs is really critical. This is something I like to watch. If you walk up to the table or the machine and you track and you see that this point outs is pretty high, let's say you're playing a Molly mashup. On that first roll after a point is established, go ahead and take the don't odds, because right now it's pretty heavily in your favor that that second roll is going to be a 7. And of course that'll change along the line. So hopefully that'll work for you guys as well as it does for me. If you have questions about these buttons up here, this tracks your whole session log. This is just the last 25 rolls, and you'll see that this number up here changes along with whichever item that we're rolling into. So back to the sessions, it'll tell you the full amount of rolls per session. If you missed out at the beginning when we were going over the basics of the editing box up here, if I have a dice roll that comes up at a 6-3, I just type a 6, a 3, I hit enter, and it's good to go. If it happens to be a 4, a 5, and a 4, just type those, it goes. This box right here, this 7 out occurrence after, in this case, a 9, it lets me know the combinations, and I'll bring that back up by just clicking down in this 9 area. It gives me the combinations of where the 7 occurred after a particular instance. In this case here, the 5-4 has come up 1 out of 4 times, where the other 9s haven't had an issue at all. If you find, like with the 6s here, where it's a little higher, when it comes up a 4-2, it's come up twice, and it's been bad each time, you might want to stay off for a roll or 2 after a 4-2 shows up. This is one of the first things that I keyed off when this app first came out. I really liked this feature because anytime a certain combination was high, somewhere in the, let's say the 25-30% area, I just learned to stay off during those. Alright, what else do we have out here? Interestingly enough, we were talking about the strategies when AGC was kind enough to let me know there was an issue with the stream. It gives you an idea of, if you are betting a certain strategy, of how things will pay out to you. Okay, this one right here is kind of a nice little one when it works out correctly, the second point lay. And it's pretty simple. That point comes up, you wait till second point is for a particular shooter is in play, you just lay against that point. Very quick and easy. What else do we have here? Nothing on those. Fire bets and sharpshooter bets. If I click on the icon for the for the Firebat, it lets me know which points have been made for the sharpshooter. So if you're curious as to see which point needs to be made or which ones have been made, the highlighted ones are the ones that have been made, and the dimmed out versions are the ones that still need to come up. All right. Here, as far as the sharpshooter, it lets you know how many times each particular number has been made. So in this case, we had the 9. Only one time the 9 has actually been in play. All right. That's kind of the basics behind that. I think some of you may kind of be curious about the editing features of this thing. Let's say, for instance, this 12 was really supposed to be an 11. So I just double click on it. I type in 5.6 to make it an 11 instead of a 12. Hit my enter key. We now see that it's in play up here. And I can just exit out, and then it'll restructure all the numbers and redo the coloring in here. And since we bring up the coloring, let's take a quick look at that. The blues are points that are made, and the reds are when we have losing rolls. Hey CSL, how are you? Craft Strategies Live had a quick question, and that was about the iOS version. No, I haven't discussed that yet, but since it's up in front center, so let's just bring that up real quickly. I know there's quite a few people that have asked that question as to when it will be ready to go, and from the looks of it, if everything stays as it is right now, it'll be late April or beginning May. That can fall back a little because some of the messages that we're getting from Apple Developer right now are that things are being delayed a little bit. And also, Android is the same thing. Android normally updates the changes to the application within anywhere from 10 minutes to a couple hours, but we have been getting messages that say it can take up to 7 days now before everything is previewed and ready to go up. So, but figuring late April, beginning May for the for the Apple, the iOS version, okay? And there will be a couple things that won't be present in the Apple version. One will be, this WinCrafts field right here will not work in the Apple. Okay, we've played with that, and unfortunately we can't get Apple, or the iOS won't give us the permissions that we need to actually export the data the way we wanted it to. So that will not be available in the iOS version. Also, the website will be deleted out of both of these because it's not really being maintained or used for anything. So that will be gone. All right. As far as additional features, one thing that we have dropped is the tracking ability for multiple casinos and multiple sessions. We do have the data for it. It does kind of work. The trouble with it is the maintenance behind it in phones. Although, yeah, a lot of people do have phones that have 32 gigabytes of data storage available. We don't want to be sitting there eating all that stuff up. And it really does eat up a lot of space. Because if we had a session that has, let's say, 1,000 rolls in it, and you do that 2 or 3 times, and you multiply that by a number of casinos versus a couple of, you want to call it months, all of a sudden that stuff fills up, and when you sort it and try to manipulate putting the sessions together and moving those things around, it was taking anywhere from 30 seconds, sometimes a minute, when we'd have 10 or 15,000 rolls tracked. So that doesn't look feasible. All right. Maybe if we ever bring this out into the desktop world, that'll be a different story. All right. Let's see. Jackson. The roll history showed up 50 rolls, but anyway. No. Okay, Jason had asked a question. I know the roll history shows up after 50 rolls, but anyway, can I see it within 25 rolls instead? If you're talking about this right here, the forecasting section, the answer is no. There will possibly be a configuration file that'll be dropped up into here, and in that if that configuration file does go up into that area, then the answer will be yes. I will tell you that in the code, the configuration file is there, and it's set for 50, but it has not yet been permitted for users to change that. There will be a couple different options in play there, but whether or not that will actually become a fulfillment for the user to change, I don't know for sure. It doesn't look that way because it's already there, and since it hasn't been enabled, I'm going to say it probably will not be coming to fruition. Okay? Let's see. I go to do coming for unit. Oh! It looks like CSL and Average Guy Craps have a little thing coming up here in a couple days, so be sure and stay tuned for that as well. I know Average Guy Craps has been doing a lot of good videos lately, putting things together with his Bubble Crafts machine. Between that, he's got a couple live sessions that he's tuning in that might be considered a online Bubble Crafts compilation of different users all at one time. That might be a video that's coming out, so definitely stay in tune with him. If you haven't already subscribed to him, be sure and do so. Alright. Any other questions that might be out there? Anything specific to development phases or to the application itself? Oh, one thing while I'm thinking about it, in the editing field, I'm pretty sure there's a video that's been brought out that talks about this. But if I go in to edit this and I realize it's not supposed to have been in there at all, we just need to delete it. If you drop in 00 and hit your enter key, it actually has pulled it out. So if you notice, we had the aces in. It was between this 1-3 and this 4-3. It's now gone. So I just click on that, it updates, and everything's fixed and ready to go again. Anyway, I will kind of wrap this out. This was kind of just a quick test to make sure that we can get all this out to you guys. I'm sorry that apparently the stream wasn't going live, although we did start at 5 o'clock. For some odd reason, it didn't seem to get out to the internet in time. But it's out there now. We'll try to put this whole thing up within a day or so that you can review it if you need to, okay? Thanks again, everybody. Wait, there was one more. Let's see, Jackson. 100 rules more. Okay, that's more or less between AGC and Jackson, so we'll let that be. Anyway, guys, enjoy it, and thanks for giving this a quick test for me, all right? Have a great evening.